I'm really glad to be sitting here with Kris Jenner, who's been a friend of mine for a really long time. We met many, many years ago, and our lives, like many people, have kind of gone here and there. But I wanted to speak with her because I think she has a lot of lessons for a lot of people. And I think she really is an architect of change because she saw a problem. Maybe it was in her own home, and she said, you know, I'm going to create a solution for my family. And I think that there's a lot of lessons. So many people need to be entrepreneurs in their own lives today, particularly women who have to go out and make a living, who have children to take care of. And very often corporate America doesn't allow you the kind of schedule you need to live a life and also be a parent. So I thought she might have some lessons for all of us. And I know her to be also somebody that we don't always see on TV. So I wanted to begin by thanking her for coming and say that I see you as an architect of change, and I want to ask you if that resonates with you and how you define that.
Well, I think the way you describe being an architect for change is somebody who does find a solution to a problem. And I think that my whole life, you know, growing up, I feel like I've had about 9 lives because I've been through so much. And I think that the first part of my adult life was having kids. And I had my first baby at 22 and 4 kids later and divorced and single for 5 minutes, met and married Kris Jenner. And I guess I kind of pulled a Chloe because I met him and 5 months later we were married. And it was very interesting because he had probably $200 in the bank. And I didn't have much more than that. And I had some child support. And we thought, okay, well, now what are we going to do with 10 kids? You know, or 8 kids at the time. And it was very interesting because we weren't thinking. You know, we just kind of dove into a situation. And suddenly, we were left with a situation that looked really great on the outside, but we were in trouble on the inside. And there's a lot of people that do live paycheck to paycheck, although our paychecks were a little bit larger than other people's, but it was still a struggle. And I, you know, thought, how are we going to make a life together? How is he going to make a living? What are we going to do? What am I going to do? And I didn't have a lot of hands-on work experience, although I had been in the business world, you know, just because I was married to an executive the first part of my life, and I learned so much just paying attention and being around, which I think was like my college, you know, at the end of the day, because I paid attention, and I didn't know I was paying attention. Anyway, Bruce and I tried to figure it out, and it was a struggle, and then one day I just had to roll up my sleeves and thought, this isn't working. What are we going to do? And that's when I became Bruce's manager. And we just started deciding that I was going to, you know, this was before there was really a lot of email, and it was like snail mail. Anytime you wanted to get a message out to somebody, you mailed it. If you wanted to reach a lot of people, corporate executives, anybody like that. And Kris Jenner had a speech that he gave called Finding the Champion Within. And we sat down and I said, you need to go and do these motivational speeches like you used to do around the country, around the world, and we are going to tell everybody about it. And I didn't know how I was going to do that, so I grabbed my buddy, who then became my assistant. She was amazing. And we spread all over the living room floor that had no furniture in it, just every single piece of material we could find. And we made press kits out of nothing. I had a Xerox machine that was like, you know, on just auto drive. And we mailed 7,000 things to everybody we could think of. You know, Visa, Coca-Cola, every single company, you know, Carl's Jr., Jack in the Box. We just started mailing these things to corporate executives.
And waiting for them to hire.
And we waited for the phone to ring. And the phone started to ring. And then we couldn't keep up with the call. I'm like, this is amazing. This is really working. So he was back on the road doing his motivational speaking. We raised his price because I thought, well, he's just not charging enough. It's got to be something that they really want and they almost can't have. And we just would think of all these really great things to do.
Now, where did you get the confidence to say, you know, I mean, obviously Bruce Jenner at that time was an Olympic champion, so not everybody has an Olympic champion sitting in their home, right? So, but
Gold
where-
medal hanging there. I thought, I
That's-
can do something with this.
Yeah, but where did you get the, you know, so many of us struggle with confidence, right? Where did you get the confidence to say, like, I'm going to raise that price. Okay, I got him doing this. Now I'm going to do infomercials. Okay, now I'm going to do this. Now I'm going to do that. And you didn't have the background to really be doing that.
I took a risk, and I think part of it, and this is what I tell my kids all the time, a lot of how you live your life and how you succeed in life is who you associate yourself with and who your friends are. And my parents taught me that my whole life, and I heard my friends' parents say it, and then Robert Kardashian drilled it into my older 4 kids, you know, most of their lives, and it just was ringing true. It's like you associate and hang out with people that are like-minded or that you want to be like, and then you go out and do it. And I think that I just started thinking about, you know, just a lot of thought about how could I utilize what I have in my own living room, which was Bruce Jenner, you know, or your own backyard. You know, I thought, okay, not like you said, not everybody has a motivational speaker that can go out and do a speech or that has something to say that's interesting or that, you know, a corporation might get something out of. And Bruce was very motivational and amazing. I mean, his talk was, you know, there was silence in the room, and people would stand up and cry and laugh, and it was an amazing talk. And so he had a real gift, and he just needed to be able to go out there and share his gift with everybody. And it just so happened that I found my gift because my gift was having the organizational skills and the just being a self-starter and just staying up until 3 o'clock in the morning until all those darn press kits were done, and they were pretty. They were like, I loved my whole thing and my personality. I love to be just resourceful, and I'm creative, I think, and I like things to look good. And so I thought, you know, if this is the presentation and this represents Bruce Jenner and our family, he's going to go up and, you know, be buttoned up in that beautiful new suit, and he's going to go up there and give a speech. And I just had it all in my mind.
Did you not, have you ever dealt with fear in saying, like, okay, I want to change that price? Oh, I'm looking at my family, and I think, you know, there'll be a good TV show. And
no,
then you walk
you
in
look
and
at.
say,
I was looking at my family thinking, this is a lot of little mouths to feed, and this is a lot of education. I'm thinking this one's going to private school, and that one's going to private school, and that, you know, and there was fear. The fear was that you were going to disappoint and not be able to take care of your kids the way that you'd love to.
Disappoint who?
Your children. You know, that they couldn't go to where you wanted them to go to school, or they couldn't have the things that they wanted, you know, to have. And, you know, I had raised 4 kids in this opulent lifestyle with this amazing, you know, anything they wanted. There was never a fear of, you know, a money thing. They're very privileged lives. And so then when I got married the second time, and it wasn't the same pocketbook, you know, it was much different. And I was faced with, I've got to learn how to get it together. And so the fear was that I would disappoint anybody because I am a people pleaser, but I'm also I have a strong will, and I'm very determined. So once I set my mind to something, and I knew that this had to happen, and then I found a way to make a change. And that's what was so rewarding and satisfying, because I would work so hard all day long. Things started to happen because I figured out a way to have an income for my family, and then the hard work didn't scare me, because every time I would go to bed at night and put my head on the pillow, I was like, I had such a great day. This felt so good, and I worked so hard.
But what gave you the confidence or the chutzpah to, after, you know, you have somebody who won an Olympic gold medal, who's in the house, so I get that. But then you're like sitting there and you're looking at your children and you're thinking, I can make a TV show out of this, when that really hadn't been done. What made you think that anybody would be interested in your kids, your family, and that you could actually be the executive producer and sell that?
Well, I think what happened was, and a lot of people don't know exactly how that panned out, but I think what happened was after we were, established and Bruce was doing well and speaking's going well, and I still felt like there was a lot left to do and that we could create something else. And my kids were getting older. So Courtney, Kimberly, and Chloe were in their early 20s, late teens, amongst them. And Kendall and Kylie were just very little. And I had been down in San Diego working with my mom because she has a children's store. And my stepdad had an accident, a car accident, and he was in the hospital for 16 weeks. And my mom said, I'm going to have to close my store because she was the only one that worked there. And I said, you're not going to close your store. You just bought all this inventory. I'll go down and work for you every day, and I'll just go back and forth until he gets well. And so I did. And I would go down to San Diego, and I would work in my mom's store, and I would dust the shelves and change the windows and fold the T-shirts. And I made this store was rockin'. It's still there. It's called Shannon and Company, and it's in La Jolla. And it's this cute little store. My mother's had it for like 40 years. She's been in the same store. And she's so proud of this store, and I could not let that happen. So I went down there single-handedly, and I'm like, now I know all the neighbors, and I'm, out there getting people coffee. It was so much fun. I mean, it was fun because I was helping my mom. It wasn't like fun because my dad was sick, but it was so rewarding. And when I came home and that whole experience was over, I got really sad that I didn't have that experience anymore. Mm-hmm. So I said to Courtney, I'm going to open a children's store. And she goes, are you kidding? And I said, no, you want to do it with me, yes or no? And she takes Courtney a really long time to make a decision. But I just made it for her. I said, we're opening a store. So we opened a store. Mm-hmm. And then the other girls said, well, we want a store. You guys are having so much fun. And it was really successful. And so the children's store was doing really well. And they said, well, this is great because you guys are making a living. And it's a great way to all be together. And let's have stores, right down the little alley from each other, the little sidewalk. So Courtney, Kimberly, and Chloe opened Dash. And just about that time, I was talking with friends, and we just talked about Kathy Lee Gifford, mm-hmm. who's one of my best friends, and she's Kendall and Kylie's godmother. And she kept saying to me, your family's so crazy and so big, and you've had all these kids, and what a reality show. People just don't even get what goes on inside this family or this house. And I was like, oh, yeah. And there was several other families who had reality shows at the time. And I said, actually, that would be really cool and fun. And I talked to my kids about it, and they said, Mom, you're kind of crazy. And I said, yeah, we know that, but what do you think? And they said, well, if you're into it, we're all in if you think it would be a good idea. And I said, well, here's what I think. I think if we had a reality show, people might be interested and come to the store, and we'd have really great sales. So that was that's where my mind was. I was like, oh my God, could you imagine how many T-shirts we could sell? This is amazing. So
you're surprised where it's at today.
Exactly. So we started I took the show and got together with Ryan Seacrest. Mm-hmm. I had a meeting. Somebody set up a meeting. Ryan loved it. We sold it to E, and the rest is history.
But are you surprised? Now, you said there were several other families who had reality shows, but as far as I recall, several families, after they have reality shows, it doesn't go so well for them. It doesn't go so well for the family.
Well, I'd heard about the concept.
Yeah. So did that not scare you? Did you never think along this whole way, like maybe I shouldn't do this, maybe this isn't good for my family?
No, I think I was so definite in that. I thought of it in such, when I do something, I don't really think of I always look at the glass half full. I try to have a positive attitude. I try to see through the mud and say, this could be a really great thing because I'm going to do it different, or I'm going to make this work, or I'm very stubborn, mm-hmm. for one, and I don't like to let things go. So if I start doing something and it's not going well, I think I'm so persistent that I will do it until I feel like it's good or right, So there wasn't an option. I was gonna, once Ryan got on board, and I trusted him, and he thought it was a good idea, and my kids thought it was a good idea. And one of the things that we sat down as a family and said to one another, especially Courtney, was, I think, the ringleader of this conversation, and said, the minute that one of us is really having a horrible time, it's over. We only will do this. It's like all for one and one for all. We're all in or we're not. So that made us all feel comfortable. And I think that in the very early stages of doing this, I named myself producer, because I knew what I wanted, and it's my house because we all lived together at the time, basically. Now we all have different homes, thank God. But, at the time it was like we were all under one roof. So I was running the show and making sure the house looked nice and making okay, you can park over there. And, it was like literally producing all the people and what was going on as far as organizational. And I was always good. That was my strong point, was the organizational skills. And I thought all the same skills I brought to other areas of my life, I was now using here, and then kind of taught myself and learned on the job. Did I realize that we just started filming season 12 yesterday, which is, incredible to me. And we're having so much fun because we're all working together. But one thing that people don't realize when they say, oh, they're just filming a reality show, I think what I didn't realize was the amount of work that would go into a project. And it was very ambitious because you have to film a show 18 hours a day. In those days, it was just a little bit longer of a day, and then you didn't have a lot of time off between, it was 7 days a week, and we didn't have any time off between 2 seasons because it was a success out the gate. Season 2, the network was like, oh, and let's just roll right into season 2, and we were so excited, high five, and then we went, wait, we don't get any time off? Okay. And so then we realized, this is a commitment. So you have to promote the show and travel around, different cities, doing press. And, there's just a lot that goes into doing a TV show. So we learned that on the job, too.
Now, you mentioned that you said that you sat down as a family and said, we're all in, and when one of us isn't in, we're done. Mm-hmm. Now, your son isn't in.
Rob, well, he's still part of the show. He's had a year where he kind of wanted to chill. He hasn't been feeling well. We didn't really know why. He was just diagnosed with diabetes, so we're taking care of that. But he's always around. He's just, I see Rob every day.
But is that hard if you're in a public family and one person in the family or 2 people in the family say, I don't like this. I want to live a private life. I want to live a different kind of life.
It would be really hard. I think Rob enjoys the family, all the family stuff we do. He loves his business. He has his sock line and his stuff. But I think that it was just the perfect time for him to take a little hiatus, because he does that. We were doing that. We gave him and said, just get well. Feel better. He was depressed and just wasn't feeling good and didn't know why.
But you didn't think about stopping because of that.
No, because we see him he's with us all the time.
But he's not on the show.
No,
right.
No, because he wants to still come back, and shoot the show. Oh, he just wants to feel good. It's not that he doesn't want to be on the show. It's just he wasn't feeling good.
I want to pick up with something you were saying, that you used the skills that you had learned as a mother, running the house, your organization skills. You looked inside your own home for a solution for your life.
Yes.
And I just wanted to say that Kris and I were talking, and she is going to work on workshops, Architect of Change workshops for women who are living paycheck to paycheck, and give some lessons to those women about how to look at the skills they actually already have and use those to lift themselves above the brink, above paycheck to paycheck. And I'm really excited that you're going to be partnering with a Women's Nation, with us, to help so many women. There's 44 million women who live on the brink in the United States of America who are working and who can't get their head above water. They're in minimum wage jobs. They maybe haven't had the education to lift themselves up. And you have a lesson about like how to use what you already know and turn it perhaps into a life that could lift you up.
I think there's
So I think that's really exciting. So give her a round
Yeah.
of applause for that.
It's so exciting.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
And when Maria came to me with this idea, I was like, I'm in. She goes, you can think about it. No, I don't want to think about it. I'm in. It's good. It's fabulous. Because there's so many of us, all of us out there that have such untapped resources right up here. There's so much that we can do and share with one another. And there's so many people out there, I was telling Maria earlier, that are just lost. And people that do live this paycheck to paycheck, stressful life where you lose focus, you know, and you can't think or see the forest through the trees, as my mom used to say, because you're so focused on trying to get past this thing that you don't know how you got yourself into this situation. And sometimes people just need a way out, and they don't even know what they have, you know, inside themselves, or that, you know, a friend might, you know, have a resource that's right there. And it's not a resource meaning, you know, cash. Yeah. It's how to make a living for yourself when you don't think that you have skills that can get you out of a bad situation. So I think everybody just needs, I mean, I'm so proud to be a part of something like this, because I think, I said to her earlier, if we could help one person get their life together, it would be so rewarding and fabulous. And she goes, we're going to help a lot more than one person. And so that made me really happy. Yeah. But I'm excited.
Yes, I'm excited too, and I think that's so terrific. And I want to talk to you a little bit about kind of, you live such a public life, and I'm not telling you anything you don't know, that there's a lot of people who criticize Keeping Up with the Kardashians, criticize, you know, what kind of mother you are, what kind of life you're leading, you know, on social media, et cetera. And we talked about this before we did this, and I'm wondering how you deal with that. How does your family deal with that? The kind of backlash, how people do, how judgmental people are, and how much they hurl, like, you shouldn't be doing this, and what about that, and all of that.
I think that, again, one of the first things that, I think it was Kim that told us when we started, nobody go on the internet. It's horrible there. And we were like, ooh, you know. So, and this, by the way, I think maybe my daughter Kylie is here. Kylie, was there Twitter yet? No, right? So there wasn't really these social media platforms that we have today, but there was all the tabloids, you know. So I at first it's like, you know, they're kind of okay to you, like, oh, you know, look at Kim in that cute dress and her bum, and, you know, then it just turns into this craziness of, and Kris is being fired for the 5th time by her children, and, you know, the show's been canceled, and, you know, all this crazy stuff on the cover of tabloids. And I think what happened very early on was there was this insatiable appetite for news on the family, but everything that people were reading at the grocery store was 150% just not true. And I thought, how can they do this? And people often ask me, how can they do this? And, you know, they just do. They just write what they want.
But how do you handle that personally?
So personally, at first, I'm human, so it really upset me. I remember, I'll just tell you one particular incident. I was, you know, we're at home and we're filming, so I've always got a glass of wine, and I like to have a glass of wine at 5 o'clock. I mean, what 60-year-old woman wouldn't want one? So I'm shopping. I'm shopping with my kids one day, and we're filming, and we were in a store that had glasses, and I picked up the glass, and I said, oh, like, girls, we should get these wine glasses. And then the next day, I'm on the cover of The Star, and I'm holding that wine glass, and it's full of wine, and it said something like, she's even drinking when she's shopping, you know, and I'm like, oh, my God. So you can't win. So as hurtful as it was in the beginning, we just, you know, I just told my kids, look, just don't pay attention. You know, everyone will figure out that this stuff is not true. But then social media exploded. And with that came the ability for somebody to go on the internet and actually type really nasty things about horrible things about and say things on every single platform, Twitter, Instagram. Like you'll Instagram and I'll, see all these wonderful comments and then just like, I hate you. I'm like, oh my goodness, that person is so cranky today. So it gives young people, I mean, probably people of all ages, but young people a place to go who, people that are very unhappy, very angry, very hateful and hurtful and say whatever they want. And it's like a bunch of internet bullies. And
that doesn't bother you? Or
it bothers all of us to a certain. Now, I don't read it anymore. I really don't.
Okay.
Kylie started an Instagram campaign about anti-bullying, which was so amazing. She still works on that because, I have grandchildren now. I have 5 grandchildren who are growing up in this generation that kind of anything goes. And what I was always raised like, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. So I'm so like, I just didn't know that people were raised this way to be so disrespectful. Even if you thought somebody was like butt ugly, you don't go, you're butt ugly. You just go, oh, nice suit you have on today. I mean, you
you lie.
Yeah. But I just to go the opposite direction and have all this hate and anger. And then I did have an experience in the very beginning when somebody got my email address and sent me a nasty email. And by the time I finished emailing them, because I was so like, I'm just trying to do the best I can. I'm really a great mom and I'm really fun, And by the time the exchange was over, this woman asked me if she could be my assistant. And this was a woman. So
did you hire
her? No, but I should have. I have a feeling. There's always somebody that turns around, but there's always the person who's on social media making all these nasty comments has way too much time on their hands. And I often think if that person just redirected this energy into a real positive place, they could be doing so much more good for themselves. Go get a job or go do something nicer. So go walk somebody's dog. Just don't pick on me and my kids. We're not doing anything.
What do you think you have? That's...
Yay, walk a dog. New campaign.
What do you think has been the effect of keeping up with the Kardashians, your family as a whole, on American culture, on the media?
Pop culture and the media. Well, it certainly has.
Not just pop culture.
Yeah,
culture.
The media. Culture.
America.
Okay. The world.
The world, yeah.
World domination.
Do you think it's been positive? What do you think?
We get 90% positive and probably 10%, of the haters. But I think what's so satisfying and makes me so happy is the people that you run into from time to time, and they'll say, oh, I just want to, they'll be crying. I just want to thank you because my mom had cancer and she was in a hospice and you made her laugh for 4 weeks because she loved your show or she loved the message behind every episode. It seems like, you're just this great family and, this and that. And I think when somebody really sees through the silliness of some of it or the laughter of some of it or the drama, God knows we have drama, of some of it, and they see the message behind all of it is just that we really love each other and we're a tight-knit family and we do have a voice and we like to use our voices for really great causes and reasons.
But so what is it like the fame? What is the fame for? What are you trying to use it for?
I don't think we're trying to use it for anything, but once in the beginning. But once
you just mentioned Kylie using
fame,
it for anti-bullying.
Yes. So
is there a we want to use this fame to make this change in the world, or we want to use this to affect that?
I think that when you discover that you do have this thing called fame and a certain amount of power, where as a family, I think we have over 500 million followers on social media if you add up the different social media platforms and this and that. Somebody just gave me this crazy number. And I said, you know what? You can really make a lot of noise.
We could help a lot of women.
I know, but you can really do something so amazing and positive with that kind of that listen, that 500 million people that are following your every move. You need to choose your words wisely and you need to make a difference, and so every single one of my family members has causes that they truly, truly are passionate about and that they love, and they put their energy there. And so each one of my girls, Kendall, has aligned herself with different charities, and right now she wants to go to Africa, and she's got a path. And Kylie with her anti-bullying campaign, who is so passionate and compassionate about people that don't have a voice, and Courtney with everybody in the whole world has to be green, and if you have one piece of plastic in your house, you will die.
Yeah.
And so, she's like, save the world. And like so many great things that, Kim is obsessed with helping young women, like the Dress for Success, and helping young women be able to go out into the workforce and get a job and feel professional. And, Kim helps with so many different things. But if everybody finds a passion that where they feel that they can really make a difference and really help, and you have that voice, I feel that there's a huge responsibility that comes with what we do in giving back to someone who can't help themselves.
Let me ask you, mother to mother, you raise kids who seem to be very supportive of one another, and yet they're also kind of in competition, but you don't feel they're in competition to take the other one down. And there's a lot of girls there. And very often that's not a trait that people attribute to sisters or a lot of girls in a house. There could be a lot of jealousy or competition. How did you raise girls that seem to be supportive of one another? And are they?
They're very supportive of one another. It's remarkable. I think that they have, I've always said, the most important thing to me raising kids was their hearts. I wanted them to have really kind hearts. And I think that they have, they care about each other, they care about other people, but they also have, all of them, they all have a strong faith. They all have a incredibly strong work ethic. And they would do anything for anybody and give you the shirt off their back. So I think their character and their integrity is so strong, and I think that they're there for each other, and they would do anything for their friends. I've seen them help people they don't know.
But was that some life lesson that you started in the house, like, we will not be competitive, you will support your sister? Was there an edict?
When they were little, we ate dinner together as a family all the time when they were little, and you talk about all that stuff at the dinner table. I think that's always a lesson that I used to hear when I was raising my kids, and I was 22, and I had little babies, and I thought, I didn't like all these things people tell you, and I thought, we'll see. And then my kids got, to be toddlers and a little bit older, then I thought, what, that is really a great idea, and to keep your family close and to do everything together. On the weekends, it was always about the family barbecue and being together and being, swimming. We were blessed enough to have a pool and swimming in the pool all weekend, and we were always together, always with family. All the aunts and uncles came over, and the benefit of that is they bring the food, so you don't have to, but I love to cook. So a big thing is the kitchen and everybody in the kitchen and all those conversations. You know about that with a big family.
So did you worry? You have 2 divorces in a family, and what did you worry about the effect of that on your children, and how did you that together?
I think, I've had many long conversations with girlfriends about this, and I think that if you're unhappy for whatever reason, and you make that change and that decision to get divorced, at the end of the day, the kids are going to be fine because you're going to be so much happier. And I've managed to be friends with anybody, Robert and Bruce, now Caitlin, but I've had such great relationships, which I think is such a great
and how did you do that?
Message. I'll tell you how. I had a very good friend who got divorced. Very good friends. I'm best friends with both of them, the husband and the wife. They got divorced, and they were such an amazing example of exactly what I just said. And that happened when I was very, very young. I was like 23 years old, and I watched them for years be like best friends. And I thought, that's remarkable, never thinking I would ever get divorced. And then when I did, and Robert and I got through that rough patch for a minute, we became best friends, where we would be on the phone together all the time. It was like we were such better friends than we were any other way. So he was literally my best friend. He would come over and walk through the back kitchen door and have dinner with Bruce and I 3 nights a week, and they'd go golf, and he'd be there Christmas Eve, and it was just really unusual, but such an amazing relationship, and it really made my kids happy. The only people that get hurt when two people don't get along and are real nasty to one another are the kids, because they're sad that it's traumatic for children. And I wasn't thinking as much about the kids when I was so caught up in my own emotions. But the minute that settled down, that was my only focus. That was everything to me, was that the relationship would be a good one. And I was so lucky to have that.
So even in your family, if your children split up, you keep their spouses, boyfriends, girlfriends, the whole thing as one big, large, blended family.
It's really crazy. When my kids break up with somebody, I feel like I just broke up with somebody. It's not normal. I mean, it's like, I get very emotionally attached to my kids, spouses, or the people they bring home, because we all spend so much time together. And we all manage, though, to be really, really close, And I think that my kids have a very, just strong love for the people that they have in their lives. And I just have a hard time, letting anybody go. So I'm lucky that I've been able to do that. And I think my kids see that through example. My kids have seen me, and my relationship with Robert Kardashian and how great that was. And so they have that example. That's the only thing they've ever known.
So we were talking about the effect of the show on media and culture. And I'm not telling you that you've read, I'm sure, people say, like, Donald Trump wouldn't be running for president if it weren't for reality television. Do you think...
Oh, no, now I'm responsible for that?
No, but do you think that we have mixed reality, pop culture, and politics, and that keeping up with the Kardashians is somewhat responsible for what we're watching now unfold in the political?
Oh, blame it on the show, Maria. Just
blame
everything on the show. I think that definitely, the show is in over 160 countries around the world. And it seems like wherever we go, people are talking about the show, wanting to talk to the girls, wanting to talk to all of us. And it becomes like this big deal. And it's fascinating how many people I realize being out and about in the world, and I travel with Kendall a lot, and Kylie and my other kids, obviously. But, when you're out and about and you realize how many people know who you are, like you'll be on this like little deserted island in the middle of the Indian Ocean and people are going, there they are. You're like, what? Like, how do these people, know that? And it's quite fascinating, the effect it has had, some good, some bad. I'm really proud of the show because I think that we do get that 90% positive reaction, but the 10% negative makes a lot of noise.
But do you think that people confuse now, like, what's personal, what's public, what's political, that it's all just one big reality show?
Just everything?
Yeah, that everything. I mean, that people, originally when Donald Trump announced, people were like, oh, he's a reality TV star. Then all of a sudden, well, he's a businessman, a reality. Oh, wait a minute, he actually might get the nomination. And that it's all kind of for good or bad, but do you see it as all blending? It's all just kind of one big pop culture.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a very important part of our culture today, very important, much more so than I thought any of us ever thought. And the more that it evolves and the more shows that come out and this and that. I remember thinking, I think a lot of people were thinking when Ronald Reagan became president, and we were like, wait, wasn't he an actor? That was like shocking, like, oh my goodness, he was an actor. And I thought, that was kind of like back in those days.
Right.
And now it's, reality TV is such a big deal, whether it's American Idol or Keeping Up with the Kardashians or, these other shows that are out there. I think it's definitely something that isn't going away anytime soon. So it is something that's very, it does make a lot of noise, and sometimes it does get muddy, and they all blend together. But I don't know.
So when Kanye West says, I'm running for president, is that real?
God, I hope so. I want to sleep in that Lincoln bedroom. Just one night in the Lincoln bedroom. No, I think I'm not going to answer that for him because who knows? But, with him, anything's possible. But I think Donald Trump has just shown us that anything is possible, I guess. I mean, I'm someone who wants everybody to reach for the stars and follow a dream and have a vision, and I'm a dreamer, and I work hard. So I mean, it's just like all of that combination. I think you can have anything that you work hard enough for, and if you can have the stamina, and be strong, and go out and fight for what you want. I'm kind of stubborn, so that way.
What do you think is the most misunderstood thing about you?
I think the most misunderstood thing is just the stuff you probably read in the tabloids, which is a variety of things. It's like people don't realize that I'm actually they realize I'm a mom because that's, what they see, but that I'm, this crazy wacko mom that has, these kids that are, whatever. But I mean, the truth is that, we work hard, and I love hard, and I give back hard, and I have a great family with great friends, and pretty normal. I love to do the most random normal things that I'm obsessed with. My thing that I love to do the most is probably clean my drawers. I'm obsessed with running around my house cleaning everything, and I love to cook, and I love to garden, and I love all those things that make me feel calm. And I think that I feel like I'm much calmer than people probably think I am, and much probably smarter. And, I run businesses for my children, and I'm really proud of their work ethic, and we work really hard. And so I set the bar really high. And I was raised with really great manners and how to be a lady. And, so when you say the most misunderstood, and I see tabloids with this crazy woman on the cover, and I've gotten fired for the 5th time, and what in the world? So that's disappointing to me, that maybe your personal persona is different than who you are, 180 degrees, because I just feel like there's a lot of bullying going on, and then that's what comes out the loudest, because that's sitting at the grocery store as you're checking out.
So you said, you're a mom, but you're also a businesswoman. And you're managing your children. That's your business, right? And yourself. So do you make decisions sometimes that are contrary to the best interest of the mom, but is a good business? Or do you make some decisions like, I'm a mom, I'm not going to let you do that even though that's good business? Which hat are you wearing at home?
I wear a lot of different hats. But I think I have a really great balance when it comes to being a manager for my kids. I think that I had a conversation with Kendall this week because has a conflict with travel and personal. So we've been going back and forth, and Kendall is very thoughtful. She'll think things through, and she needs to make the right decision, and she needs me to help her make it. So we sat on the phone literally 12 times. And she'll say, I have to go do this job, which is modeling in Europe, and I really feel like I need to be here. And so we spend, hours on the phone trying to figure out how can you do both. And I know that seems like not a big deal to anybody else, but to her, she doesn't want to let anybody down. As her manager, she needs to go do this job because she needs to, not necessarily the financial side of it, just for her career, and then I give her all the reasons why. It's so important because it's a huge opportunity. And she feels like she needs to be home for somebody else who needs her to do something that's personal, who's having a celebration. And so we try to do the pros and cons. And so I'll say to her, as your manager, you're going to Paris. But as your mom, I get why you need to stay home, so let me help you figure it out. And we will go to great lengths to help her figure it out so she has a balance in her personal life and her business life. So I feel like as a mom is always first. I feel like it's my responsibility to make sure she's stable and she's responsible, but that always comes first.
Do you ever, like, as a mom, go, like, when you see some pictures of your girls that are, like, scantily clad?
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever-
Cringeworthy?
Yeah, do you ever go like, oh my God, what am I doing?
Well, sometimes I don't even know that they're coming out. Like Kim did the picture with the martini glass on her booty.
Yeah.
And then I was like, wait, what? Where did this come? Like, I thought it was Photoshop for a second. It was so, like, I knew she was doing the magazine, but I never sometimes know. I obviously know for the little ones, because if they're underage or and we have somebody at every shoot. But if the older ones who are in their 30s, you know, I feel like sometimes I don't have to babysit.
But do you ever say, like, as your mom, I'm not cool with that?
A couple times, yeah. Oh, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Remember me? I'm the one with the loud mouth. I will scream from the top of my lungs, I'm not happy with this. So, yeah, they've heard my voice loud and clear if I don't like something. But then they're the same thing with me. Like, they're very critical of me if they think that I'm going off to the left or the right. So we kind of watch out for each other. They just have a different way of expressing themselves. And I think it's this generation is a little looser with things than I ever was.
Would you ever talk to your mother the way your kids talk to you?
Oh, no. No, no, no. No, no, no. And I tell, like, Chloe constantly says, I'm so sorry, Mom, I didn't mean to say that. I just saw the show back and I feel really, really bad. You know, so they do feel bad if they, you know, go off.
Do you have any kind of hard and fast rules about, my daughter asked me to ask you, I'm a mom, I'm not a best friend. This is a big subject always in parenting circles. You know, I want to be the mother, but not the best friend, but I want to be the best friend, but how do I stay with the mother? And you're managing many hats.
Well, I think at this point, when your kids are in their 30s, I have a 30-year-old, a 35-year-old, and a 36-year-old, Chloe, Courtney, and Kim, those three. And with those three, I am more of a friend than a mom because they're pretty much, at this point, telling me what to do. And then I start, like, I don't want to be that, you know, like, nasty mom all the time and, you know, griping and telling them what to do because I still want them to take care of me when I get really old. And, like, now it's like I'm 60. It's like, who's pushing me around and getting my nails done? You know, like, I want them to be nice to me.
Did you think this would be 60? This would 60 would look like, be like?
Did you? Look at you.
I know.
You're
look at
hot.
us. We're like
And
a day
how great
apart,
does she
60.
look?
Yes, but she has
Yeah.
5 grandchildren. My 2 daughters are
do.
here. Come on, kick it into gear.
Yeah, but with
I'm only
come
kidding.
on, ladies.
I'm only kidding.
But with the younger ones, you know, they're just they grow up so fast, but they know that, you know, I have a real mother-daughter relationship with Kendall and Kylie and with Rob, and he's still like the only boy, so, you know, it's easier to be softer with him. But with the girls, they're in their 30s now.
Are you happy at 60?
Yeah.
You're happy?
Probably happier than I've been. I mean, 40s was really good, and 50s I feel like was just all work. Somehow it just like flew by, and I was like, what just happened? And 60, I feel confident, and you feel like you know yourself, and you made a lot of mistakes that you're glad you made because you grew from those mistakes, and you know, you've been through a lot of things. Like I said, I feel like I've had 9 lives, you know, because I've been through so much, and you lose people, and you start to think about your life. You know, I read this, Courtney, my oldest daughter, sent a group text to all of me and all my kids last night. It was interesting. She said, read this, and it was a quote from Steve Jobs about what he said while he was in the hospital right before he died. And it was so sad. What? Did Kendall send it? Oh, I thought it was Courtney. I guess I can't read either. But it was so interesting because he was talking about how he actually said, once you've made enough money to live on and you're happy in your life, then he was almost regretful that he had worked so hard through his whole life and all this money mattered so much. And he was just saying, love your family, love your spouse, be kind to one another, you know, be loving, have open hearts, just what you talk about. And I found that so, I didn't know, I had never heard it before, I'd never read that before until last night. And I thought, wow, what an amazingly soft, sweet, touching thing to come from Steve Jobs, who realized on his deathbed, I think he died like right after that, and said, I'm really sorry I worked that hard. And that really, for some reason, hit home. I thought,
Do you have enough?
huh?
Do you have enough?
I have, yes, I have enough. And I have like so much love, and that's the bar that I say that I set so high, is that's what I'm proud of, is how full I feel with that. And that's when you have to say, then tell each other that you love each other. Another thing I read today, and I promise you, I read these things in the last 12 hours, which is, so it's kind of weird that you're asking, is John Travolta, and he was, somebody, Ellen Kay Instagrammed it yesterday. And it was the quote that he had given to some magazine or interview that said he misses his son so much that passed away. And he just said, you just don't know what it's like until you lose the person that was most important to you. So everybody, if you love somebody, tell them you love them, you know, all the time, because you never know. And, you know, he talks about telling your parents you love them, because you're going to look up from your phone one day and they're going to be gone. And that was so powerful. Like, look up from your phone one day. Like, who knew that we'd all have our heads like this at a dinner? So it just reminds me to appreciate my family even more.
You know, we have followed, and we finally, you talk about everybody having causes and watching your whole family. And I'm interested to ask you finally what you learned this past year when we watched your entire family deal with an issue that really the country hadn't dealt with at all, and what you learned about sexuality, gender, family, men, women, that you didn't know a year ago.
Wow, that's a loaded question. Well, I think what I learned this last year was patience, that I don't know everything, that I can't control everything, which was really not good. No, I'm kidding. Just
hard for someone who's always in control.
That's right. I had to let a lot of stuff go and kind of see things with a new attitude. I had to take a deep breath, and that deep breath took me a minute, you know, to kind of catch up with everybody else's excitement. But it was tough, you know, and I don't find myself in that position that often, or that I admit to. But
Did
when
you feel powerless?
I did for months, you know, personally.
Yeah.
You know, not with anything else. I think I kind of threw myself into other things to try to numb what was really going on. But I think that when I'm someone who loves professional change and growth and excitement and hates personal change.
Yeah, amen.
Hates it. And it makes me very sad and very uncomfortable. So because I'm that way, and then you throw that in, it's like that was tough, because, you know, you see everybody reacting. Now I'm someone who thinks that I have to fix everything. Talk about an architect, you know, I'm like the head builder sometimes with your kids and, you know, their emotions, and everybody's got personal stuff. And then you see everybody start to go through the situation, and you feel like you have to be there for every single one of them. So it was like being, you know, in a emergency room, taking care of, trying to figure out who do you stop the bleeding with first, because everybody was upset, or dealing with something, or their feelings were, their emotions were running high, and we either for understanding or happiness, so you try to get each other through a situation, and I learned that I can get through anything. Like you feel like you get through, I don't know, I got through 2015 and I thought, well, now I know that I can kind of deal with any challenge that comes at me.
But did you feel any sense of like, you use this platform to like educate the entire country?
I think that my family was learning as we went, and I felt like the reason we decided just to go for it, and it was happening, we could have stopped camera, we could have stopped, but it was too important on some level. You instinctively know that how can you go for 11 years or 11 seasons and show every single part of your life, everything, and then leave that out? You can't. That's not fair to anybody else either. And the people whose lives it's changed as the result of what happened is wild. It's just really interesting how many people were suffering their own way quietly, and who were able to have the strength to tell someone about it, or, deal with it within their own family a different way and not feel so alone. So I think that for many, many reasons, it was something that I'm glad that people saw that.
Are you proud of how you handled it? As a family, are you proud of Caitlin?
I am. I am very proud. I'm proud of my kids. I'm proud of, listen, everybody wants the person that they love, or anyone they love, to be happy. Yeah. Did I understand that situation? No. Do I now? Yes. And am I glad that I do? I am. I've learned a lot. I've learned tolerance. I've learned patience. I've learned how to be a better person and be more understanding and love harder. I didn't think I could love any harder, but I'm so darn proud of my kids.
Are you proud of you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Kris Jenner. Great way to end. Proud of yourself. 60.